Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
I know the Bible says Jesus turned water into wine, but it didn't say liquor store wine. It had to have been non-alcoholic wine, because it didn't have time to ferment.
Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to Film Church Radio, the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday. I'm Branden.
I'm Lewis.
And we are here to talk about movies. Each week, Lewis and I alternate picking a film for both of us to watch and discuss. Today, I picked the film Bernie from 2011, starring Jack Black, Shirley MacLaine Matthew McConaughey, and directed by Richard Linklater. As I said last week, when I revealed what film we would be watching, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. It takes place in Carthage, Texas, which is very close to where I grew up. So I have a lot of love for this film. It's representation of East Texas culture, and of course the story, which is true. The performances are amazing, but we will get into all of that in a few minutes. Like, am I going to keep this accent going the whole time?
You've gone further than I thought you were going to
go. First, we'd like to say thank you to everyone who's been listening to the podcast, sending their love for the show. If you're new to the show and you're enjoying it, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we get a new episode. This is a film church, so we post episodes on Sundays. And if you really, really enjoy the show, please share it with your friends. You can find us on social media at Film Church Radio, where you can leave us a comment, send us a message, tell us what you think of the show. We also post extra content on our YouTube channel, and right now there is a Doctor Strange MCU review that is really good. We'd also love for you to rate and review the show on whatever podcast service you're streaming from. So before we get into this film, Bernie, we like to talk about what we've been watching this week. And I'm going to turn it over to Lewis. Lewis, what have you been watching?
I have been watching, I'm not going to do the accent. For a split second, I was like, shall I try? But to say that it hasn't been rehearsed and I am not from East Texas, it would be terrible. Surprise, surprise.
You do have one thing that you can say with an American accent, though, right?
Yeah, it's the most, and it is a Texas staple. It's Whataburger. That's
beautiful.
Yeah,
it's spot on.
Thank you. Yeah, it's taken all of no time to prepare. It just flew out one day. Where were we? What have we been watching? Okay. So this week, I feel like television is at a high point right now. I know we've talked about it a few weeks ago, but I just feel like there's so much good TV or TV that looks interesting that's on right now.
Yeah.
So the majority of the stuff I've been watching this week has been catching up on the TV that me and my wife watch together.
Yeah.
So we finished Hacks from HBO, the half-hour kind of comedy about an Asian female comedian, which was brilliant. Season 2, as good as Season 1. It's funny, moving, hilarious, all the kind of good stuff. And then I've been watching Pistol, which is a limited series on FX. It's on Hulu, about the Sex Pistols.
Oh, okay.
But it's, it's not a documentary. It's kind of acted out.
Yeah.
Directed by Danny Boyle, who did Slumdog Millionaire and 127 Hours.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why I like the Sex Pistols music. I like that whole kind of, punk scene. I think it's a very interesting part of music history.
You've seen Sid and Nancy,
Boyle.
right?
I have seen Sid and Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been really interesting to watch, and it is bloated. There's the Sex Pistols were only going for 2 years.
Really?
And they try and cram it all into 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But there's not. I mean, I feel like you tread water a lot until you reach a point that's like interesting. There's a lot of kind of like make weight. I haven't finished it yet. I've got 2 episodes left. But it's entertaining enough, and it's the actors are actually performing the songs, so the live performances have a real like energy to it. You can tell they're not just miming. Which is quite fun. I like Danny Boyle. He does some interesting stuff with it. The aspect ratio is like a old TV.
Okay.
It's more square than it is widescreen, and looks a bit hazy. So it is definitely interesting. I'm going to finish it, but it's not top tier,
right?
I would say.
But
things that are top tier, we watched season 4, part 1 of Stranger Things.
Nice.
Have you been keeping up with Stranger Things?
I have not watched the. I've watched up to this season. But I haven't watched this season yet. So.
Yeah. I think because of all the hype around it, I never say, I love Stranger Things, it's so good. I'm just like, I've seen it, it's okay. But I was really into this series. Each episode is like over an hour long. Yeah. But it's super gripping. The story's good, the music's good, the actors are good. You forget that you care about the characters until you're back into it. Yeah. And we pretty much watched it all in like 2 days.
Oh, nice. I feel like that's gonna be what happens with me. I just have, I just haven't committed that much time to it. I've been catching up on other things, but I love season 1. I mean, I like all the seasons and I love the characters, but season 1 is such a tight, it was clear they didn't know if they were gonna do another season, and so they kind of wrap it up really nicely. Yeah, and I'm glad it continued or whatever. But season 1 is just there's certain moments in it that are so great, spoilers, when she catches the kid from falling, when he jumps off the cliff, and then she breaks the guy's arm, and it's just I love that moment.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, there's moments in this that I was open mouthed at the screen. Really? It's one of the kind of oh my gosh, it's just good TV. It's just each character has room to breathe. It's kind of long form storytelling at its best. I feel like it's really good. And then The Boys started back on Amazon Prime. We watched the first 2 series. This is the 3rd. Yeah. And we only watched the first episode, and it is gory. It is over the top, ridiculous, craziness. I feel like it's a show I can't binge because it's just so
much every time.
Yeah. It's intense. Yeah, it's intense. So we watched the first episode of that, and I was like, okay, we can have a little bit of a break. Yeah, until the next one. Yeah. Not saying it's not very good. It's just a lot. Yeah. Yeah. And then movie-wise, I've only really watched one movie since we last talked, and that is Hoop Dreams from 1994, nice. Documentary about 2 kids. They both get discovered around the same time, going into high school, and it's basically it just shows inner city. I think it's Chicago, just the American system and how kind of corrupt and if you're on the bottom rung of the ladder, how hard it is to get out. Yeah. Of this just awful situation that we're in. Yeah. It follows 2 young boys' journey to wanting to play basketball. They're both very talented and kind of get snapped up by a high school that excels in basketball. I don't know, tutorage, I guess. Yeah. And just shows their 2 journeys through until they graduate, basically. But there's just so much to it. There's drugs and there's violence and there's injuries and there's poverty and people having to move schools, and there's just so much going on in it. And you really root for them. You're really rooting for these 2 kids to make it. But in the end, it's like sometimes it doesn't matter how much skill you have. Like the world is not going to let you achieve your dream.
Yeah.
And that's not really a spoiler because, they both are really good at basketball.
Yeah.
But you come away from it thinking, wow, it's just so sad that this is the way that the world is.
Yeah.
If you don't have money, you can only go so far.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's such a good documentary. It's not, and you never feel like the filmmakers are trying to guide you at all. They're just telling
the
certain
story.
things. Yeah, exactly. They're just, it's not like they're trying to get to the end and like show you something in particular. I think it started off by maybe showing like how teenagers got scouted. That's the first part, and then after that, it's like, okay, actually, their stories are more interesting than that.
Yeah.
I would recommend seeking it out. I mean, like I said, I'm not massively into basketball. I've watched a few documentaries here and there, but it's just, America.
What did you watch it on? Is it available somewhere, or did you just? Have a copy?
It's on Criterion. So I had a copy that I picked up on the last sale because I read a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
And it is pretty lengthy, so I've been putting it off, and I finally had a night where I could watch it.
Yeah.
So, but it probably, it was 1994, so it's probably widely available on streaming somewhere, if not Criterion Channel somewhere else.
Yeah. It's always interesting when documentaries, older documentaries are still so relevant.
Yeah.
And still hold up.
There's a lot of stuff in there about the 90s, like the fashion and the music and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's just great.
Yeah.
I love documentaries, especially ones like that.
Yeah.
So
I might have to pick a documentary on my next pick.
Yeah. I mean, we did Flea, and we both love Flea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. True. Well, I have been watching. Well, I haven't been watching much. Been watching some TV, but I only watched one film since the last time we talked as well, besides the film we're talking about today. But I watched Pedro Almodovar's Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down from 1989 with Antonio Banderas. Nice.
That's interesting because I feel like
Almodovar, I think is how you say it.
Yes. Okay. You can just dub me over with you saying it. I feel like I watched Parallel Mothers, and I've really wanted to go back and watch some of his other films.
Yeah.
Recently, just because that didn't land for me necessarily, but I know how highly thought of he is. So what did you think?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, for some reason, I keep running into these movies about men who kidnap girls, and then the girls are supposed to fall in love with them. And I'm just like, this is unrealistic and stupid. Like, let's get away from this weird, I don't know, culture mindset, or I don't know what it is. Like, it's just like very misogynistic.
It's the male gaze, isn't it? Really? It's like,
it's like some weird effed up fantasy that just is not. It's not romantic. It's like trying to make it romantic, which I don't think the film necessarily is trying to make it romantic. It's not.
No.
It's not a romance film really, but it was interesting. It did leave me wanting a little more. So, I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
But I don't know. I might visit it again. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those movies that I need to like discuss with someone else who's seen it and try to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and he is a filmmaker that I do want to watch more of his films. One of his films that I have seen is called Talk to Her, that came out in like the early 2000s that I really like. So yeah, and I haven't watched Parallel Mothers, but I need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, I was like, I'm gonna check out one of his films, and then was a little disappointed, but not giving up yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, like with Parallel Mothers, that was the same for me. There was a lot of hype around it, and I was expecting too much. But it kind of, I know that you shouldn't judge a filmmaker by one film, but it kind of puts you off a little bit from necessarily choosing like another of his films over something else.
Yeah.
Because there's so much available to us right now that, if it was a choice between a Linklater film or a
Almodovar.
Film, I would choose, it wouldn't be a hard choice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I mean, he's highly regarded.
Exactly.
In the filmmaking community. So I do want to watch more of his films and kind of. I think he maybe is somebody who does very unique stories. Things that you would never think of. You know what I mean? And maybe that's why people like him, because it's just so different than other things that are available. But yeah. And then I also, that movie is on Criterion Channel right now if anybody wants to watch it. But I also watched Bo Burnham's The Inside Outtakes, which anybody who's been listening knows that I loved the Inside Bo Burnham special. I talked about it in our end of the year episode, and it's like getting a whole nother special, dude. Like there's more songs.
Yeah.
And he'd like make something different out of it, like the style wise. Like it's on YouTube, so it's like you're watching a YouTube video, and like you'll see little ads pop up that he custom created, and then you'll see the countdown that comes up, and it's like, commercial coming in 3, 2, 1, and it really, like when it first happened, I was like, crap, I got to skip the ad. But then it was like he made these ads. So it's got its own package, you know what I mean? Like consistent. It feels like it's a continuation, but it's also it's a separate thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've only seen the podcast segment. Which, kind of I'd seen it just after we'd watched Tusk a few weeks ago, I think. So it was like
spot on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's brilliant. He's so talented.
Yeah, man, he's amazing. Like it really just. I mean, it shows outtakes too. So and shows like multiple takes of the same song, like layered over top each other. It's just crazy. Like, I mean, I know that this is like all he did for a year, but it just seems like so much work.
Yeah.
And
it looks effortless. Like, I mean, when you watch the actual special, like you can tell a lot of work went into it, but it's seamless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think you realize just how much work went into it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the outtakes makes it more visible how much work went into it, because he kind of shows you, you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh man, that's a lot.
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, also this week, episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi dropped, and I know that we have both watched it. Or you watched it, right? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
I assumed. I was like, I'm pretty sure you would have watched it. Yeah. So, I mean, this show just keeps blowing my mind. I mean, it's so good, and like it really, we won't really go into spoilers, but no. I mean, this is a semi-spoiler, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is, again, going to save someone, to rescue them. And it really, to me, it just like, I just bursted out laughing, because I was like, this is really emphasizing the one line in A New Hope where Kenobi's like, I'm getting too old for this sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's your turn, Luke. Like,
I mean, you can tell that why he just kind of gives up and is like, okay, I'm going to die.
yeah,
I'm going to fade into nothing now. I got them here, and that job's done.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I had the best night. So Chelsea hadn't seen the first 3 episodes. And then, it must have been Tuesday night, we ordered a Chinese takeaway, and then we watched all 3 episodes before the next one dropped, and it was a good night. Like, really good food and really good TV was just perfect. But Obi-Wan Kenobi's never been one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. I think that in the prequel series, he's very by the book, and him and Anakin work well together.
yeah,
But it's never been him that I've been that I've really loved.
yeah,
This show is changing that. I think he's just every episode, like the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi is going up in my list
yeah.
of favorite ever Star Wars characters. I don't know how it's doing. It's just adding so much to what we already know about him, and
Yeah, I mean, it's just adding weight to the character, because it's
I just feel like if I was in that world, who would I want on my side? Like, it's like, picking at sports day.
yeah,
Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to be that first person on your team.
yeah,
He's so reliable. He's so talented. Like, and there's just little character beats that we're not going to go into because they're like a little bit spoilerific, but
yeah.
just make it so much worth it.
Yeah,
it's
man.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best.
Obi-Wan for life. But me and Chelsea do find it really funny that they keep being like, Obi-Wan is like, it's Ben. And they're like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Ben
Yeah.
Kenobi, whoops, wrong person. Go about your business.
Yeah. Like, everyone knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the Kevin Smith review of like the first episode, his theory was that wasn't going to know that Ben and Obi-Wan were the same person.
Okay.
But I feel like that's squashed at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, like Reva, or I guess we won't go into spoilers, but well, I guess I did just say though, so
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sorry if I spoiled that for anyone.
We'll put it in the description. We'll just let people know that there may be spoilers ahead for Kenobi, but
Yeah.
Man.
I get carried away.
Chelsea said the same thing. She was just like, it makes me miss not that the bad interpretation, but man.
Yeah, she was good. She was the best. Like,
she was.
If you get a chance to watch some of her stand-ups, like on HBO and stuff, those are good.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out. She was the best.
Yeah. One of a kind.
Yeah.
I also watched Miss Marvel, the first episode.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm waiting for Chelsea because she's on a trip. I haven't watched it yet. And
I liked it.
And good. And I know that we said after Doctor Strange, I feel a bit marveled out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I am.
Yeah.
I'm not hyped for it. And I don't know whether that's because Kenobi's going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just give me Kenobi.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I was not hyped for it. I thought about just waiting to watch it, but then we threw it on while we were having dinner earlier, and I enjoyed it. Like, it was a lot better than I expected.
Nice.
I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. Yeah. So, if you're a Marvel fan, give it a watch. Because I was just expecting it to be like kind of geared towards younger girls. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it kind of is, but it's like there's plenty there still to enjoy.
That's great.
It's good.
And I do love that we're getting more representation.
Yeah.
From Marvel on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
For minorities and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I like all Marvel stuff. I'm going to watch it, but maybe
not necessarily in a rush.
Yeah, not, day it drops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, but I think tickets for Thor go on sale Monday. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, I mean, love Taika Waititi, so gonna have to get opening day.
Yeah, man. Have you seen Our Flag Means Death?
I don't think so.
It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Our Flag Means Death. It's a pirate show that Taika Waititi did. And
It just got renewed for a second season, right?
Yeah,
I saw them tweeting about it, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I've never watched it.
it's
Is
pretty
it
good, dude. It's a slow start, but it you really get into it once you kind of
Yeah.
understand what the show is about.
Yeah.
But it's like a comedy about pirates.
Cool. Okay, cool. Check it out. Add it to the list.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so much good TV, dude. Like you said earlier,
Yeah.
it's like as film lovers, they just keep, they market so well. They keep coming up with such good ideas and getting such good actors, and that as even though we're film lovers and we feel like we need to watch films, they get us with these shows, and then
That's
we're
it.
hooked.
Yeah. I mean, even this month we've got, Obi-Wan that's happening. We've got Miss Marvel. We've got Only Murderers in the Building season 2 coming out, which I love that first season. So I'm excited for that. The Boys, all this top tier TV. It's exciting.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
But now I think it's time for Bernie, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, from 2011, the film we've all been waiting for. The IMDb summary is, in small town Texas, an affable mortician strikes up a friendship with a wealthy widow. Though when she starts to become controlling, he goes to great lengths to separate himself from her grasp.
And as always, spoilers are going to be forthcoming. So.
Yes, so if you haven't seen the film, definitely check it out. It is on the Criterion channel right now as a part of the Richard Linklater collection. And this film is so good. Like I said at the beginning, I grew up very close to the events of I didn't know about the events of this
Okay,
this
I was going
film.
to ask.
Wasn't aware of it until the movie came out, but there are several references to Longview in the film, which is where I grew up. So,
Oh, crazy.
there's like Longview Bank and Trust in there. Jack Black at one point mentions fantasizing about Marjorie falling down the escalator in the mall in Longview,
Yeah.
which is my only criticism of the film, because that mall in Longview didn't have an escalator. It was one story. But I have been there several times. And also the Hands on a Hard Body competition took place in Longview.
Oh, crazy.
So that was something that I grew up knowing about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before we get into this movie, do you have any questions or thoughts to start us off, like of what you thought of the film or anything?
I have a pretty big thought.
Okay.
I don't know whether if this is going to be, a bombshell to
Start off
the
with.
pod. Yeah, exactly. But I'm going to say it. So
Okay.
after watching this film and doing a little bit of research for us talking about it and kind of watching a little bit, Richard Linklater is the most important American director working today.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that his career is one of the most varied and interesting of anybody working today. He shows America like nobody else.
Yeah.
I'm in love with his work.
Yeah.
And even the films that aren't critically acclaimed are still better than 98% of the other stuff I've watched.
Yeah.
He's incredible. This film is incredible.
Yeah.
Everything he does is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's almost like he is it's almost like he's like a European director. Like he's making films about his place, like his time and place from an outside perspective, but he's on the inside, like he grew up in Texas, like it's really interesting. But I think he's just so well studied in film, like he's just seen so many films and he really knows, like he wants to do everything, like or at least everything that he's interested in. Like he has so many interests in terms of film that he, every time he makes something, it's a different version of like a director he wants to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's never the same, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I watched like an interview with Jack Black, and he was talking about working with Linklater, and he said the best thing about him, which, if I ever write anything about Linklater, this is going to be the title. He called him a sneaky Shakespeare. It was just like, before you know it, it's like it's bigger than you could have imagined.
Yeah,
like just the ideas behind it, and like the way that he crafts with words, and it's so true. This film, it I think it's a sleeper. It doesn't really, Jack Black at this point was kind of like comedy orientated and very, I don't know, like he'd been typecast a little bit. So I went in thinking it was going to be one kind of film, and it's actually a very moving look at what drives people to commit crimes in a weird way, and religion and companionship and small town gossip and all this, like the legal system, like all these things rolled into one hour and 40 dark black comedy.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was crazy to me watching this movie for the first time. Like there was nothing. Like I will always remember that first experience of watching this because of, I mean, just within the first few minutes of the movie, I knew that it was like something special. Yeah, because it was just like so aware of this little slice of earth that I grew up in. You know what I mean? The pine curtain is what they call it. The East Texas piney woods. And it was just like from all the church songs, like he starts singing he's singing in the car right in the beginning. You're seeing just like all the pine trees and stuff. Like that was my view as a kid. Like I think about Quentin Tarantino making Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and like the camera in the car next to Brad Pitt looking up at like the Hollywood Strip. And he's like, that's what I saw as like a 6-year-old kid. Well, for me, it's like these pine trees, like looking up and seeing these pine trees as we're driving down the road. And I'm imagining Spider-Man swinging on the trees. And then it's like right after that, there's the lady who's like talking about everyone in town having Bernie on their will make it to heaven list. Yeah. And then just like something that's like so ridiculous, but like so... it's like, oh, like I've like people say that stuff, like I've heard that before. And then the guy that just lays out Texas for you, which is like, go ahead. Just as someone who like grew up in Texas, it's like, it may like, I've never seen anyone lay it out like that, but like when he did, it was like, oh yeah, like that's it. I love that. Oh, I forgot about the panhandle, but then everybody does. And then he just moves on and just like leaves a question mark there. Like nobody knows what's up there.
I could not believe in the closing credits that he was a real person, because I know that it was like half actors and half real people. I was like, he's an actor. He's got to be an actor.
The Sonny Davis guy? Yeah. The guy that laid out Texas? He was an actor, yeah.
He was?
Yeah, he is an actor, yeah.
Oh, I was pretty sure that, because it was, okay. Because it was like dropping, he is, you're right.
Yeah. Sorry. That's the guy that Zach was talking about the last time that we talked with him. And I can't remember what he was telling us about him. Like, I remember him bringing up the guy. Because I think he was in some an older 80s film that Zach had watched, and I wish I could remember what it was. But he also, that's the same guy, like Linklater did a Fire Ted Cruz campaign.
Okay.
Where he made like a bunch of like commercials, like political ads, basically listing all the reasons why Ted Cruz should be fired, starring that guy that lays out Texas.
Okay.
And all of those are on Criterion too. So
Sweet. I guess I got a little confused because they had the actor and then the name of the person they were playing.
Yeah.
And then it had just, I guess, names of actors, and I just assumed that they would be the real townspeople.
Right. Yeah. Well, see, I think the way that he did it was, I mean, they had a script, like it's all scripted.
Yeah.
But they did casting calls.
Okay. And they kind of tried to...
Yeah, just try to like typecast everyone, basically.
Because, yeah, the woman that goes to see Bernie at the end is real.
Yeah, she's real, and I've met that lady.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She came into a restaurant where I was working in Jacksonville. I was working at a Mexican restaurant. It wasn't Jalapeno Tree, but very similar. It was Rancho Grande. And, yeah, she came in, and I actually got, like, her resume and stuff because she was doing more work at the time. Like, she was in a film with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, I never did give her a call, and it's like one of my biggest regrets. I'm like, man, could have had her in a movie, and unfortunately she passed away, I think, in 2018. So,
oh man.
But yeah, that was like the first movie she had been in, and she did an amazing job. Like, she's got a lot of really funny scenes. Like, there's a scene in the beginning where she's talking about how Bernie fixes the bodies, and she's like, she'll fix your chin so it's not all sticky outy.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did. I think she's in Everybody Wants Some, which is another Linklater film that came out in like 2016 or something about baseball. She has a scene in there. But yeah, she is hilarious. Like, so many characters in this movie are. It's weird, man, because it's like people I know. You know what I mean? It's like, and all the different accents. You know, they're similar, but they're different. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got like their own, like, different voices or whatever, I guess. But like they all sound familiar to me. You know, it's very strange to watch, but it's yeah, man. I mean, it's why I love the film. It's like being transported to my childhood. Like, it just makes me so happy that I can have like my childhood captured so well, or like something that will take me back to the time and the place, and I can remember. It's almost like I can smell it. It's weird. You know what I mean?
I get you. Yeah.
And like, just knowing that, okay, like hundreds or even thousands of years from now, someone could come across this film and know exactly where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For better or worse. But yeah, man, it is incredible to watch, and Jack Black is a motherfucker, dude. Like,
I mean,
just that opening monologue where he's like demonstrating to the college how to, you know, make the body look good and stuff is just like, holy smokes.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jack Black anyway. I think he's in High Fidelity, which is one of my, you know, favorite kind of 90s movies.
Yeah.
I really like him in King Kong. I know that some people think it was miscast and stuff. I thought he was great.
Yeah, he was amazing.
And he is hilarious as a person. Like, he's just one of those people that you just know is as genuine as possible. Like, he's just, he's him, you know, unapologetically himself. So I'm a massive fan of Jack Black. This definitely should have got him some more recognition.
Oh, yes.
Because it's a great performance. He can, like, he just does it all. You know, there's times where you think something sinister is going on. There's times where you feel sympathetic for him. You know, that full range is there. You know, it's never a cartoony version of it either. Because playing this character would have been so easy to have like gone too far.
Yeah.
You know, but he never does. It's very restrained and like it's someone that we know. You know, you've met this person before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I always forget that Linklater did School of Rock as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems to be so different from everything else he's done.
Yeah.
But I mean, the two best black performances are from Linklater, you know.
Yeah, which
it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's cool that you know, I'm sure like when Linklater, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like Linklater knew that Jack Black was the person to play this character.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Matthew McConaughey wanted to play him, but he was like, it's just not going to work. You're going to have to, you can play the Danny Buck character.
Yeah.
Who's the district attorney.
Yeah.
So he like kind of gets typecast again. He's another lawyer.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So his friend, Kyle Gass, who is
Tenacious D
from Tenacious D, along with Jack Black, said that Bernie is the pinnacle of Jack's acting career, which I would agree. Yeah. And also there's a little kind of, not cameo, but the radio station that Bernie goes to in the movie is KGAS, K-Gas.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of...
I never noticed that. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I don't know what it is about like Jack Black playing these characters.
Yeah.
But it's just I mean, even that last scene of him kind of walking, spoiler, into the prison, like even that he does so well.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell the kind of character just from that walk.
Yeah.
And there is that air of mystery, you know, they keep asking those questions and you never kind of get a straight answer. And any of them could be possible. Yeah. You know, were him and Marjorie in a relationship? Was he gay? Yeah. Like, you know, I mean, Danny Buck's kind of explanation as to why he thinks he's gay is completely ridiculous. And of course, it's a thing a Texas male from that kind of age range would say, you know, he subscribes to Men's Fitness and he wears his shorts high. When he holds hand, like he shakes your hand a little bit too long.
And he wears sandals. And then Kay Epperson is like, our Lord and Savior wore sandals.
Yeah, that's right.
And so did his 12 disciples.
Yeah.
And they weren't gay. Which is kind of hilarious to think about. It's like, it reminds me of just like that meme of like the self-aware wolf. Of like, I don't know, maybe we should re-examine these disciples. Might get a lot of flack for that one, but they said it in the movie, so.
Yeah.
But dude, oh my God, the scene where, spoilers, everyone, watch this movie, when he shoots her. Yeah. Like, Jesus, man, like his acting ability in that moment is just like so. It's like he switched into a child. Yeah. And he just like didn't know what to do. Yeah. And then he's like asking for God. It's all one shot, which is incredible. Well, at least the acting part of the scene. Yeah. And then he's like praying to God, you know, to find an answer, like show him what he needs to do. And then he like turns, you know, to the freezer behind him. And then it's that cut to 76 trombones.
I cried at that point. That is one of the best cuts in cinema. It was brilliant. And that choice of song as well. I know that like it's just something about it. Yeah. That's just it's just comedy gold. It's so funny.
Yeah. It is amazing. I started thinking too, because I was reading about, the actual guy, and what happened to him, because, I mean, he's still alive, still in prison. And found out that I think in 2014, he was released from prison for a couple of years. Basically, I don't know, maybe he got some new lawyers or something, but they basically presented that he was in like a dissociative state at the time of killing Marjorie, which basically he was like in a dissociative state due to abuse that he suffered earlier in life. So like it just like they presented a case that Marjorie was basically a mental abuser, a verbal abuser, and he just went and he just flipped his switch and went into this dissociative state and then killed her. So he got let out of prison for 2 years under the stipulation that he live with Richard Linklater, which is really strange. But I was like thinking about that, and I was like, I wonder if the movie actually helped them make that case.
Because I thought it was going to be more of a, did he do it? But it's very cut and dry, and at the end, you do feel for him. Yeah. There's that scene where he's in the plane and he's just landed and she's, calling and after he hangs up, he's like, this is my life now. And you really feel like, oh God, he's got into more than he can chew right now. Yeah. So,
I mean, there's so many. I mean, obviously, it's not right to kill people. There has to be consequences.
No. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But there's so many. Even his lawyer, in the scene in the movie or whatever is making the case that, if he wanted to kill her, if he meant to kill her, if he had premeditated to do it, he would have done it so much better. But he didn't want to kill her. It happened.
Just happened, yeah.
And then, he could have still at that point gotten away with it, but he felt bad and wanted to preserve the body and wanted to give her a proper burial. You can just see that he really was a nice person. It's almost like the movie makes you realize, oh, maybe we're all capable of killing someone under the right circumstances, which, I mean, we live in a very interesting and unique time compared to the rest of Earth history. I would say that probably for the existence of the human race, more people have experienced what it's like to murder people than not. We just happen to live in a time that we don't have to kill people to survive anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not medieval times anymore.
Yeah.
It's not Game of Thrones.
World War. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just like, man, what did Linklater and Bernie get up to for those 2 years?
Yeah. I mean, there's this shot when the credits are rolling of him talking to Jack Black. And I think, again, from that shot, it tells you all about the character. Because Jack Black is just he's just totally engrossed in that conversation. Yeah. You can tell. And I think that's exactly the kind of person Bernie was. You fall under his spell. Yeah. And I don't think, because at first when he's kind of showing up at the funeral home, I was like, is he just a con man? Is that what this all is? Is just he's just conning just to get into wealthy widows' kind of houses and stuff. Uh-huh. But I don't think so. I think he was a genuinely caring guy. Yeah. He did, obviously he knew kind of how to push people to spend a little bit more money. you know, there's some hints of, you know, he put more crosses up to make it a bit more religious, and he was pushing kind of different kind of coffin and stuff. But I mean, that's his job, right? So
yeah, I mean, he also just believed that was aesthetically like pleasing.
Yeah,
you know, like when he's being shown the funeral home when he like first gets the job, he's like, "Oh, these benches are so nice." You know,
I know,
like,
yeah.
the green. I love the green. You know,
Yeah.
like he's just into that kind of stuff, which you know is like another reason someone like Danny Buck, you know, might say that he's gay, but like, you know, I resent the fact that men can't like nice things without being gay. Like,
yeah, I agree.
You know, people like men can be effeminate and
exactly
still like women, so get over it.
But I just think that that's such a great way to represent masculinity in like small town.
Yeah.
You know, Texas is just that. He held my hand too long when we shook hands. Like he must be gay. You know? Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, like Jack Black did get nominated for a Golden Globe, but that was like the biggest one. You know, didn't win.
Yeah.
Didn't get an Oscar nom. Like, I think this could possibly be his, you know, best film of his whole acting career. But I'm sure he's got some more good stuff in him. I think like the modern or the way like the person I could compare him the closest with is like Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Like just as a cultural icon and as just a genuinely like good person and then acting ability to like do funny movies and do very serious characters as well. So I think I'd love to see more, but
me too. I think it's a real shame that, you know, High Fidelity, like I said, is one of my favorites. I just love that film. And it's a shame that he kind of got typecast after that as this stoner, you know.
Yeah.
I know that School of Rock, it worked out really well. But then you think of the terrible studio-driven stuff that they tried to put him in, like Gulliver's Travels and, you know, The Holiday.
Yeah.
It's a real shame because, I mean, it could be, you know, you look at, oh my gosh, Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
And like his career, like that could have been Jack Black, you know, he could have been working with the, you know, the Scorseses and stuff like that because he's got that talent.
Yeah.
But his career, maybe it was just too late to catch, you know, the Robin Williams era dramedy roles.
Yeah.
And too early for the, I don't know, more serious comedy roles.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
King Kong, I thought we were getting to that point. You know, it was a big budget role, but just didn't.
Yeah, serious and.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Jumanji films are really good and they're really funny, but they also really showcase his acting ability too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
He steals that.
Yeah.
You know, The Rock plays The Rock. Kevin Hart plays Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
I feel like he's the one that's got something interesting to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Rock's like, oh, I used to be a puny boy, not anymore. It's like, cool.
Got muscles.
Yeah.
So Shirley MacLaine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we haven't talked about her much at all.
Tell me about her.
She is, I mean, she's phenomenal, right? She's one of the only actresses, or actors, I should say, that has just, you know, from the golden age of Hollywood, has just kept going.
Yeah.
And I think that you can say there's like a great film from every decade that she's been in, you know.
Yeah.
And
she's still going.
Yeah. And it's great. You know, she just lights up the screen. You know, it's the thing is when she plays Marjorie, it's like, of course, people, you know, if you were Bernie, you would have wanted to be around her as well, even though she was horrible.
Yeah.
Because she's just so luminous. Like, she's just wonderful.
Yeah. What do you think her best film is that you've seen?
I think I'm a bit biased. When I was at school for my undergrad, I wrote my end of third year dissertation on the representation of women in the films of Billy Wilder.
Okay.
And she was in The Apartment and Irma La Douce. And both of those I wrote about quite a lot. So The Apartment is she's just amazing. And carries that film. You know, Jack Lemmon's in it, and Jack Lemmon's great. But it is Shirley MacLaine's film.
Yeah.
So The Apartment,
I have not seen it, so is that
amazing.
what I should go watch immediately?
Yeah. The Apartment is just great. Just again, it's just so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
You know, and to play that character, because I'm sure she was only, you know, late 20s at most.
Yeah.
Is quite a dramatic choice. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's great in the film. Like, she just owns that character. It's interesting because she doesn't, like, you see her for a while and you hear everyone else talk about her for a while before she has any dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, even all the scenes with him and her at the funeral and stuff, she doesn't say anything. It's not until he, like, goes to her house for, like, the second or third time, and he's like, I brought you a little gift basket, got some little soaps, and, like, and then she's like, come in, and, like, that's her first line. And then I just love the way that the movie progresses in showing, like, revealing more of that character because you hear everyone else talk shit about her, and you can't, like, she just seemed, you can't judge her yourself, like, because you haven't seen her do anything, you haven't seen her say anything, and for the most part in the first few scenes, she's a little snappy, but she's not, like, horrible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like everyone's saying.
Yeah, I think that's a choice from Linklater to kind of pull us in the same as Bernie was pulled in.
Yeah, definitely.
To not see who she really was until we're in too deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, until we've already spent that time, we're like, oh no, she is awful.
Yeah.
And horrible. And like, there's no need for it, you know?
Yeah.
While he's tweezing her whiskers.
Yeah.
And he's like, he coming to the dress rehearsal, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I hope he shoots her soon, because...
Did you know that was coming?
I think from I'd seen the trailer.
Okay.
And I knew that she died.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was going to be like as blatant. Like I said, I thought it was going to be a bit more of a, you know, and then we didn't see Marjorie for a while, and like we told that she had gone off somewhere or whatever. But it's very open and like, he shot her. She's in the freezer. He carried on spending the money for a while.
Shot her with the armadillo gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like that, there's like a lot of really good, like subtle scenes too. I mean, not super subtle, but like when they're in the Egyptian chair and he like offers his hand to like help her up, and she's like, fuck you. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah. Just, there's a lot in there that just drives you to like, it's like grinding teeth whenever she's towards the end. You're just like, get her off the screen, you know? Yeah. But that, I mean, I think that's credit to Shirley MacLaine as well, because she plays you do go through that emotion. You're like, she's not that bad. And then by, 10 minutes later, you're like, I hate this woman.
Yeah.
So, and that's not easy to do. So she does it well.
Yeah, she does. I mean, when she's just throwing that tantrum, it's just like, whoa.
Because, there's bits in there that you can tell, I don't know how to put it, are just more than acting. You know, she's kind of, you can tell that she's riled up, and it's not just, I'm just going to shout this. She like jumps a little bit, and it's like,
she goes
just
full
so
method.
Angry. Yeah. And then when she closes the door and she's like, you're never leaving.
Yeah.
It's just, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, she's something else.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely gonna have to watch The Apartment probably soon after
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
What did you think about Matthew McConaughey? Was it just like, because he doesn't come in till like,
Mm-hmm.
get 30 minutes into the movie, I think.
He had some of my favorite lines.
Yeah.
I really like people call him an angel. He's an angel of death. And just that pause. And then he's like, thank you very much. I'll see you later. That's brilliant.
Did you know that that's his mom in the movie too?
I didn't until
The
after.
credits. Yeah.
Yeah. The woman that she's with cracks me up as well.
Yeah.
When she's like, who's she buying lingerie for? Like, nobody wants to see those boobs. And the woman next to her is just like giggling away.
Yeah. I don't think she even has any lines in the whole movie.
No, she doesn't. She's
just there to laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Yeah, I like McConaughey a lot. I liked Danny Book. I don't think there's a lot for him to do, but
he just
does it
fits.
well.
Yeah, he had to be in the movie. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So Longview, like I said, was where I grew up, and that's where he went to high school.
Okay.
So he's like known in that town.
Yeah.
My mom and her sisters actually went to school with him.
Oh wow.
Of course, this was before he was
Yeah.
famous or anything. But yeah, that's like my claim to fame. My mom went to high
that's
school
cool.
with Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, man, it's just kind of crazy. But there's just, like I said, so much stuff in this film that just takes me back. I mean, even down to like the costumes, just like the clothes people wear. The shirts that Bernie wears are like all the shirts that like my dad wore.
Yeah.
And like it's just so crazy, you know what I mean? It's I love it so much. But
And I think that's what Linklater does so well, is that he shows this realistic version of events. Dazed and confused. Everyone remembers the last day of school. That's how it feels like with this. It's like that small town that you're from where that gossip travels and people have their own thoughts about everything. And the Before trilogy is such a iconic look at love and just things, just a real relationship. And I think that's what he does so well. It's just he shows the truth in an entertaining way.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like that's maybe why I love the film so much, because it's like showing, it's like cutting straight through the bullshit and showing you exactly who these people are that I grew up around. I mean, it's like they just have their own way of thinking and doing and operating. And like, I mean, even like, the quote from the beginning about the wine, whether or not the wine was like fermented, it's just like, that was my life. Like sitting in rooms I didn't want to be in, listening to adults talk about the dumbest shit in the Bible. Like whether or not the wine was fermented. Like, he could do anything. He was Jesus. He could make it right on the spot. Like, it's like, it was like turning something that I always kind of found annoying into like, this is like, I can like enjoy this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And two, just like, I think, I had gone to Hawaii, for the summer to work at a Boy Scout camp a few months before I saw this film. And like, Hawaii is still, technically America, but going to another place, another part of the world, seeing another culture, and then coming back, I think made me also realize, like the place I grew up in the world also has its own thing
culture.
Going on. Culture. And so I think it was just, this movie just like hit me at right, just the right age too. I mean, I saw it after, like a year after it come out, so I was like 22, you know, right at that age where I'm like growing up and like reflecting on what the hell I just went through as a child, you know, and like trying to figure out the meaning to life. So like, yeah, this film is always gonna like just have this special place in my heart. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's great. I love films that have that, you know, thing for you. I think it's funnily enough, you know, High Fidelity, I've mentioned it a few times, is kind of a similar thing for me, not because I grew up in, you know, Detroit or wherever it's set, or that I owned a record store, but just the main character is obsessed with music and movies and books, and that's me. And I was like, you know, and relationships were destroyed because of it, and the people around him were kind of not, you know, regular, but they were his people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of, I understand what you're saying, you know.
That might be, I don't think I've ever seen it, so that might be something I also watch immediately after.
Yeah, I mean, it's, both The Apartment and High Fidelity were two films that I considered for us to watch next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I was like, I feel like I need to kind of, you know, The Apartment, I mean, I still might pick it. It's like up in the air. But yeah, they're wonderful.
Well, yeah, the documentary that I was talking about maybe choosing would be very on the nose to watch after this film.
Okay.
If you're interested. I've never seen it, but it is highly recommended. So, and I've been wanting to watch it. I might have to do it.
Okay.
I've said too much. I just have two things left to say about this film. One is that Richard Linklater does have a cameo in the Hands on a Hard Body competition scene where he's one of the 5 deadbeat dads with his hands on the car. He's the one that's like running away from the cops.
That gets caught by Danny Book.
Yes. And then also he has a new film that just came out and it's on Netflix. It's called Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood, and it's done in the way of like Scanner Darkly, where it's like animated over live action.
Yeah.
So it's got like this interesting look to it. I haven't watched it yet, but
Me neither. Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, I mean, we've talked about Netflix a few times, and it's been in the news a lot lately because of all the dumb decisions they've made, business decisions.
Yeah.
And this feels like, you know, it's not that they do make dumb business decisions sometimes, but like a good decision, like making a Linklater film, getting a Linklater film on Netflix. What, like
make something of it? Yeah.
Yeah. How come nobody knows about it?
Yeah.
Like, how come there's no advertising? How, like, you've got something, like, show it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. But yeah.
Oh dear.
Do you have anything else about Bernie?
Just, I mean, Linklater is just blows me away.
Yeah. What's the first like Linklater film you saw, you think?
It must have been School of Rock.
Yeah, I think it was for me too, because it was like,
and I can remember loving it.
Yeah.
I can remember getting a box set with, it was School of Rock and then I think Orange County, the film he did with Tom Hanks' son, Jack Black. And I like both of those films, but for School of Rock, it was just, I mean, Jack Black is just so magnetic in that film.
Yeah.
And he's just so talented.
Yeah.
And it's funny.
Yeah.
And heartwarming. And yeah, I mean, it must have been that. But I think Boyhood is my favorite.
Yeah.
And this is your favorite. It's like one of your favorite films. So it must be your favorite later.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely favorite of Linklater. I do like Boyhood a lot. I mean, it's probably top 5. But Slacker is also really, really good. And
I haven't seen Slacker. It's on my to buy list for Criterion. So when that sale rolls around in July, it's going to be the first pickup.
Sweet. Yeah, it's really good, and it's like, also about Texas. It takes place in Austin, and I mean, it's one he did before anybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
So it kind of put him on the map a little bit, but
I just love how patient he is.
mm-hmm.
Just, Boyhood is the perfect example of it. Just the 12 years to make a film.
Yeah.
And just he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And, and it's the same with the Before trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so small in a way, but so poignant. And to just have the patience and the will to do all three and kind of stick to the vision. It's just like, that's why I said there's nobody working like him. Like, there's nobody like him right now.
Yeah.
He's so important.
Yeah.
To American film.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I also, by the way, love like how much Jack Black gets to sing in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the perfect mix. Like, he's just the church guy who just sings all the time. Like, that's just who he is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that like most of the singing like fits the character perfectly. There's one moment that I'm not saying it doesn't fit the character, but I love it because it just dips in to like the Jack Black Tenacious D voice for like a second. Like, you just get a hint of it when he's singing like the Beautiful Dreamer song. It just like touches, and it's like, oh, there he is.
I know. I could listen to him sing all day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Tenacious D. I love Tenacious D. I'm a big fan of the film as well, which again is another probably a nail in its coffin, unfortunately, for Hollywood, because it just didn't do very well.
Yeah. I mean, it did well amongst, on DVD sales and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like it's becoming a bit of a cult
classic. Yeah.
Classic,
which
is great. But yeah, just, he's got such a good vocal range.
Yeah.
And he's so, I don't know, he just gives it everything.
Yeah.
I love him to bits.
Yeah, man. He's the best.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I think that might be it.
Yeah.
What, I mean, you know what I rated this film.
Yeah. It was 1.5, right? You just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't really like it. I'm not going to watch it again.
No. How dare you?
This is as close to a 5-star film as wherever. Like, it's going to be like you should just change your name to Branden Bernie. So
yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a perfect movie.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that you probably rated it 5 as well. I think you enjoyed this movie.
I enjoyed it a lot. I did. I rated it 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that I want to watch this film again. I know that there's more to get out of this film. You know? But yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, so where do we go from here? What's happening next week? What are we gonna watch?
Oh man, so I've been flip-flopping all week. There's been 4 or 5 that I've been thinking about. There's 1 or 2 that I was like, I want to rewatch this, and then I had a look on Letterboxd and you'd seen it. So I kind of was like, okay, let's pick something else. But I'm gonna go for it. We're gonna watch The Apartment.
Oh, sweet. Cool.
I feel like if I watched it quite recently and it is fresh, but I'm like, I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
And I feel like it is a film that everybody should see at some point.
Yeah.
So I want to watch it and talk about it with you.
Heck yeah.
So
sweet.
That's what we're going to watch next week.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now, next week.
That's right. I'm going to store the one I had picked, which was by the same director, actually. So,
okay.
For a future ep. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, dude.
Looking forward to it. I hope you guys join us next week for that. That brings us to the end of the show. You can find us on Twitter Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube at Film Church Radio. You can follow us individually on Letterboxd at Selmascope and at WalkerLewis3007. That is a social media app you can download on your phone and see what we've been watching, keep up with us, see what we've been rating movies, see what our favorite movies are. Tell us what we should add to our watch lists. And all of our back episodes are streaming on all good podcast platforms. You can go to filmchurchradio.com and see all the different platforms it's on and select whichever one you'd like, whether it be, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, all that stuff. And Lewis, just remember, if you're going to live in a small town, you have to be nice to people.
Or do musical theatre. If I could sing, I would have jumped into a rendition of 10 Trombones.
We might have to pick the Music Man next time.
Yeah, that's right. Or just replay the clip of him singing that song for an hour and a half.
That's right. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to say your Film Church prayers.
Praise be to Linklater. Amen.
Amen.
Bye.
We're not leaving.
We're going to keep going.
Part 2.
Oh, man.
All right, I'm going to stop.